On a distant star, far from Earth, there was a planet covered in strange glowing forests and towering crystal cities. The planet's sky shimmered with two suns, and from space it looked like a jewel. At the heart of the largest city stood a palace of shining metal and crystal. This was the home of the alien queen, ruler of countless worlds, feared and admired across the galaxy. The queen was a tall being, with luminous eyes that seemed to see everything. Her skin shimmered in colors no human could name, and her voice carried a weight that made silence follow her every word. Today she would announce a contest unlike any other, a contest to choose her next mate. Across the palace, creatures from dozens of star systems gathered. Some were winged, some had multiple arms, and some had eyes that glowed in patterns that flickered like lightning. They all whispered and glanced at one another, curious and cautious. Each had come for one reason: to win the favor of the queen. Among them, one figure moved quietly through the crowds. He looked ordinary, far too ordinary to be noticed in this gathering of majestic aliens. He was a human, tall but not overly strong, with short brown hair and a calm, steady gaze. His name was Ethan, an explorer who had traveled far from Earth in a small human ship. Unlike the aliens around him, he had no royal blood, no special powers, and no weapons that would impress a warrior from the stars. As Ethan walked, the aliens stared. Some laughed quietly. "A human? Here?" one whispered. "They are weak and primitive. What can a human do?" Ethan ignored them. He had no illusions. He did not belong in this place, but he had a reason to be here. He had stumbled upon this contest by accident while exploring distant star routes. At first he thought it was a joke, but when he saw the prize, the favor of the queen herself, he could not resist. Humans rarely met the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Why not try? The palace doors opened with a sound like singing metal. Inside, the main hall stretched wider than any city Ethan had seen. Crystals hung from the ceiling, casting rainbows on the floor. The contestants took their places on platforms arranged in a circle around a large throne. The queen arrived. She did not walk. She floated slightly above the ground, her long robes trailing behind her. The hall fell silent. Even the loudest alien stopped speaking. "I have called you all," the queen said, her voice soft but strong, "to find a companion who is worthy. You will compete in trials that test your strength, intelligence, courage, and heart. Only one shall earn my favor." Gasps echoed around the hall. The strongest aliens smirked confidently, sure they would win. Some looked at Ethan and laughed, openly. He felt their eyes on him, but he did not flinch. He studied the room carefully, noticing patterns in the platforms, the arrangements of the crystals, and even the subtle shifts in the queen's expression. He was not here to fight alone. He was here to observe, learn, and find clever ways to succeed. The first trial would be announced soon. Contestants were told to prepare. Aliens flexed their arms, shook their wings, and adjusted their armor. Ethan simply looked around, studying what might be coming. His human mind worked differently. While others relied on raw power, he relied on thinking, timing, and adaptation. The queen spoke again. "The first trial is a test of survival. You will face challenges designed to push you to your limits. Remember, strength alone will not ensure victory. Wisdom and courage are equally important." The doors to the arena opened. Inside, the contestants saw a landscape like nothing they had ever encountered. Rocks floated in the air, rivers of glowing liquid twisted like snakes, and strange plants with sharp thorns and moving limbs filled the space. Creatures that looked part machine, part animal, roamed freely, their eyes following every step of the competitors. Many aliens laughed. "This is easy," one shouted. "I will crush anything in my path." Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward. He did not rush. He watched the creatures, noting how they moved, how the floating rocks shifted in the air, and how the rivers flowed. His strategy was simple: survive, observe, and adapt. The trial began. Aliens charged recklessly at obstacles using brute force to clear the way. Many were thrown off balance or attacked by the strange creatures. Ethan moved carefully, using rocks to climb, dodging the glowing rivers, and even talking softly to calm one of the smaller, frightened creatures. By observing and predicting the environment, he avoided danger with surprising skill. Some contestants sneered. "A human. He will fail soon," one muttered, but the Queen's eyes followed him quietly. She did not speak, but her gaze lingered. Ethan's calm, thoughtful approach stood out. Most aliens relied on aggression, but this human relied on intelligence and patience, qualities the Queen valued more than she expected. As the trial continued, Ethan found a way to use the floating rocks to cross a wide gap safely. Other contestants tried to leap or fly recklessly, falling into the glowing rivers below. Ethan reached the other side without a scratch. By the end of the first trial, only a few contestants remained uninjured. Ethan, against all odds, was among them. The aliens were stunned. How could a human, considered the weakest species by most, survive when their strongest warriors struggled? Back in the palace, the Queen watched quietly from above. She did not show it, but she was intrigued. Humans were rare in her presence. To see one not only survive but think differently, use strategy, and stay calm under pressure, it was unusual. Very unusual, the other contestants whispered among themselves, frustration growing. Some even tried to cheat or attack him, but Ethan's quick thinking and awareness kept him safe. He treated the trials like puzzles to solve, not battles to win by strength. When the first trial ended, the Queen spoke. "Many have failed because they relied only on strength. The human succeeded because of cleverness, courage, and calm judgment. This is noteworthy." A murmur ran through the hall. The contestants looked at each other in disbelief. Ethan felt no pride, only quiet focus. He knew the trials were far from over. This was only the beginning. After the trial, contestants were given time to rest. Aliens approached him, some curious, some angry, and some mocking. "You are lucky," one said. "Do not think you can win the Queen's favor." Ethan smiled politely. "I am not lucky. I just look and think. I observe before I act." The Queen observed him silently from her throne. Unlike the others, she did not laugh or mock. She saw potential, qualities she had not expected to find in a human: intelligence, patience, adaptability, and courage. That evening, the palace gardens glowed under twin moons. Contestants walked among exotic plants and streams of liquid light, discussing the day's trials. Ethan wandered quietly, studying the alien flora, the flowing lights, and even the architecture. His mind worked constantly, seeking solutions for future trials. As he sat by a glowing fountain, the Queen appeared, floating gracefully toward him. He stood immediately, unsure what she wanted but ready to listen. She looked at him closely. "You are different," she said softly, her voice echoing in the garden. "Most would have panicked, rushed, or tried to fight. You think. You adapt. You survive." Ethan nodded. "I do not want to fail. I want to learn and do my best." The Queen's eyes glimmered with something he could not name, curiosity perhaps, or approval. "We shall see if you continue to impress," she said, before drifting away like light through water. As the night deepened, Ethan looked at the stars above. He knew the next trials would be harder. They would test strength, skill, and even heart. But for the first time he realized something incredible. A human, considered weak by most of the galaxy, had captured the attention of the most powerful being in the known universe. The sun rose over the alien palace in soft gold and violet light. Ethan awoke on a floating platform where contestants rested. His body ached slightly from the first trial, but his mind was alert, already planning for what lay ahead. The first trial had tested survival. The next trial would test skill, intelligence, and courage. The contestants gathered once again in the central hall. Today the queen herself would reveal the second trial. Silence filled the room as she descended from her throne, robes flowing like liquid starlight. The second trial, she began, her voice calm yet commanding, is a test of skill and intellect. You must navigate the maze of aeons, a labyrinth that changes constantly. Only those who observe, adapt, and solve its challenges will reach the center. A low murmur spread through the contestants. Some were confident, flexing arms or adjusting wings. Others looked uneasy. The maze of aeons was legendary, a test that had defeated entire generations of challengers. Ethan listened carefully. He did not try to intimidate anyone. He only studied the description, noticing the words the queen used: observe, adapt, solve. He understood that brute force would not work here. Intelligence, patience, and clever thinking would. When the doors to the maze opened, a flood of contestants rushed forward. Towering aliens tried to push through obstacles, relying on strength to move massive gates or crush barriers. Ethan walked slowly, studying the walls, the floor, and the strange patterns that flickered in the air. The maze was alive. Its walls shifted like liquid metal. Paths opened and closed unpredictably. Some corridors led to dead ends filled with traps, glowing spikes that shot from the floor, swirling energy that could knock a competitor unconscious, and hidden creatures that snapped at anything moving. Many contestants panicked. One alien with 4 arms tried to force open a barrier, only to trigger a trap that sent him tumbling backward. Another, winged and swift, flew too high and fell into a pit of glowing liquid. The human, calm as ever, observed and waited. Ethan noticed patterns. The maze shifted at regular intervals. Certain glowing symbols predicted where traps would appear. By combining careful observation with timing, he avoided every danger. He also began to notice smaller competitors, aliens who seemed weaker, struggling to survive. He helped one by nudging a moving platform so it aligned with a safe path. The other contestants saw this and frowned. "Why is he helping them?" one hissed. "He should think only of himself." But Ethan did not care. Survival was not only about strength or speed. It was about understanding, adapting, and sometimes showing wisdom and compassion. As he advanced, the challenges grew harder. The maze created illusions. Walls that appeared solid but vanished when touched, creatures that mimicked other contestants, and paths that looped endlessly. Many aliens became frustrated, shouting or using powers to break through. None succeeded. Ethan used his mind and simple tools. A reflective shard from the wall revealed hidden passages. A swinging rope, dropped from a higher platform, allowed him to cross a deadly gap. Each obstacle was a puzzle, and each puzzle he solved quietly, without drawing attention. The queen watched silently from her high platform, her eyes following Ethan's movements. She noticed how he moved calmly, how he thought ahead, and how he treated other contestants with respect, even those who tried to sabotage him. This was unusual. Most competitors were arrogant, aggressive, or careless. Ethan's combination of skill, intelligence, and kindness was rare. Hours passed, and the maze continued to challenge them. Fatigue weighed heavily on many contestants. Their movements became slower, mistakes more frequent. Ethan, however, remained alert. He ate small rations, drank water from a portable pack, and kept his mind focused. At one point, he reached a chamber filled with moving pillars. Each pillar glowed differently, and touching the wrong one would trigger a trap. A few aliens tried to rush through, but many were knocked down. Ethan studied the pattern of light and movement, predicting the correct path. He moved carefully, stepping only when safe, and reached the other side unscathed. Another chamber tested courage. A chasm appeared, stretching farther than the eye could see. The only way across was a narrow, invisible bridge that appeared only when a specific rhythm of steps was followed. Many contestants hesitated, afraid to step into the unknown. Some tried to leap, falling into the void. Ethan remembered what the Queen had said in the first trial. Courage was as important as intelligence. He took a deep breath, focused, and began stepping in rhythm. With each step, the bridge appeared, beneath his feet. His mind stayed calm and his confidence carried him safely across. By mid-afternoon, the maze had claimed most contestants. Only a few remained. Strong aliens who relied on brute force, quick and cunning aliens, and Ethan, the human. He moved steadily, observing, learning, and adapting at every turn. At one point, he encountered a creature that seemed impossible to defeat. It had multiple limbs, glowing red eyes, and could change its shape. Other contestants had tried to fight it with energy blasts or brute force, only to be thrown aside. Ethan did not attack. Instead, he studied its movements, noticing a subtle hesitation before it struck. He tossed a small object from his pack to distract it and slipped past while it followed the wrong path. This caught the Queen's attention. She did not expect a human to use such clever thinking. Most beings relied on strength or speed. Ethan relied on observation and planning, a trait rare in the galaxy. Finally, Ethan reached the center of the maze. A small pedestal awaited, glowing softly. He placed his hand on it and the maze fell silent. The walls stopped shifting. The traps vanished. The creature withdrew. The trial was complete. The Queen descended from her platform, her robes floating behind her. She looked at Ethan and spoke, her voice calm but powerful. "You have completed the maze of aeons," she said. "Many strong and clever beings failed. Here, you succeeded not because of strength or speed, but because of mind, courage, and wisdom. You have shown qualities that are rare, even among my people." The hall erupted in murmurs. The remaining contestants looked at Ethan with disbelief. Some were angry. "A human? How can this be?" one shouted. Ethan bowed slightly. "I only observed, learned, and acted carefully," he said. "That is all." The Queen smiled faintly, a gesture she rarely showed. "Your humility is noted. Strength is important, but the heart and mind are equally so. Remember this lesson, as the trials ahead will be even more difficult." After the trial, contestants were given rest and nourishment. Ethan walked through the palace gardens, reflecting on what had happened. He had survived not because of physical might, but because he thought differently. His human perspective, often underestimated by aliens, had given him an advantage. Some aliens approached him, curious or wary. One, a tall warrior with 4 arms, asked sharply, "Human, how did you do it? You are not strong like us. You have no powers like the others. How can you continue?" Ethan smiled. "I use my mind. I observe, I learn, and I act carefully. Strength is not everything." The alien frowned but said nothing more. Others watched from a distance, beginning to realize that this human was more than he seemed. The Queen observed silently from her throne, hidden among the floating lights of the hall. She felt something unfamiliar, admiration. This human had survived 2 trials where many of her strongest subjects had failed. He was clever, patient, courageous, and kind in ways she had not expected. As the twin moons rose in the sky, casting a soft glow over the palace, Ethan knew that the next trial would be harder still. It would test creativity, strategy, and perhaps even his heart. But he felt ready. He had learned that humans, though underestimated, could survive and thrive by thinking differently, by observing carefully, and by showing courage in unexpected ways. And somewhere deep in the palace, the Queen whispered to herself, "This human, he is extraordinary." The other contestants did not yet understand. They thought they knew what it took to win, but Ethan had already begun to change their assumptions. And in the trials to come, they would see that humans were not to be underestimated, ever. The palace grew quiet that night, except for the gentle hum of alien machinery and the soft ripple of glowing fountains. Ethan rested, preparing for the next trial, unaware that the Queen's eyes had followed him every step of the way. The galaxy's greatest ruler had noticed the human, and what she saw had surprised even her. The day of the third trial dawned on the palace like fire in the sky. The twin suns rose together, casting long golden shadows across the alien city. Today's trial would not only test strength and skill, but cunning, strategy, and the ability to face fear itself. Contestants arrived at the central hall, their confidence high, most still thinking the human Ethan could not survive the next challenge. The queen floated above them once more. Her eyes scanned the assembled beings, glowing, faintly in patterns that hinted at amusement or curiosity. The third trial, she announced, is called the Arena of Shadows. Here you will face creatures, obstacles, and illusions designed to test your mind and courage. Only those who can remain calm under pressure, adapt to changing situations, and act with intelligence will succeed. A murmur of excitement and fear ran through the contestants. Many were confident in their power. Some were confident in their speed or agility. Few considered strategy. Ethan listened quietly, studying the arena through the large open doors. It was a vast shifting landscape. Jagged cliffs rose from blackened ground. Rivers of molten energy flowed unpredictably, and strange creatures lurked in the shadows. The arena seemed alive, moving in subtle ways even before anyone stepped inside. Most will try to fight their way through, Ethan whispered to himself. That will not work. Observation and patience will. The doors opened. Contestants rushed in, some charging boldly, others cautiously. The humans stepped in last, watching carefully before moving. The arena immediately tested them. Illusions appeared, showing false paths and hiding dangerous traps. Some creatures were fast, some invisible until they struck. Many contestants were thrown off, panicked, or attacked. Brute strength alone was no defense. Ethan's strategy was simple: move carefully, study patterns, and use the environment. When a bridge of jagged rock swung over a river of glowing energy, he timed his steps with precision. When creatures leapt at him, he dodged, then led them into traps set by the arena itself. One particularly dangerous creature blocked his path: a massive, multi-limbed predator with glowing eyes and spiked armor. Other contestants had tried to fight it with energy blasts or brute force and failed. Ethan paused. He observed its movements carefully. The creature attacked with predictable patterns, striking from left to right, then lunging forward. Ethan noted the rhythm and used it to slip past, dropping a reflective shard from his pack to distract the creature. It lunged at the shard instead, giving him enough time to move forward. Meanwhile, other contestants were struggling. One, a towering alien warrior, grew frustrated. "I will crush this arena," he shouted, smashing obstacles with all his might. A trap exploded nearby, sending him tumbling into a pit of molten energy. Another, a cunning winged alien, tried to fly over obstacles but misjudged the illusions and was trapped in a shifting corridor. Ethan noticed that many aliens relied on aggression or speed. They thought power could overcome the arena, but the arena had been designed to test intelligence and adaptability, not raw force. Ethan's careful observation gave him an advantage they did not have. Hours passed. The arena continued to challenge them with new dangers: pits that appeared suddenly, creatures that mimicked other contestants, and illusions that tested perception. Ethan stayed calm. He adjusted, adapted, and used his mind to solve problems. Others could not. At one point, he found a small alien who had been injured by a trap. Most contestants ignored him, focused only on winning. Ethan knelt and helped, using a simple tool to stop bleeding. He guided the small alien to a safer path and then continued his progress. The queen watched from her throne, hidden in floating light patterns. Her eyes followed every move of the human. She was intrigued, not only by his skill but by his behavior toward other contestants. Compassion, courage, intelligence, qualities rare in her arena, were all present in this human. Finally, Ethan reached the center of the arena. A glowing pedestal awaited, suspended above a pool of molten energy. Around it were smaller platforms, each holding a key to unlock the pedestal's energy barrier. He studied the arrangement carefully. Many keys seemed identical, but only one would work. Choosing incorrectly would trigger a trap. He noticed subtle differences, scratches, tiny symbols, the way light reflected off each key. Using careful observation, he selected the correct one. The barrier dissolved, and he stepped onto the pedestal. A wave of energy passed over him, not harmful but signaling completion. The arena fell silent. The queen descended from above, robes flowing. "You have succeeded," she said, her voice calm yet resonant. "Many of my strongest and cleverest beings have failed. You have not only survived, but outsmarted the arena of shadows. This is remarkable." The remaining contestants were stunned. They had relied on strength, speed, or cunning alone, and most had failed spectacularly. Even the ones left standing looked unsure how a human had managed to triumph where they struggled. One alien warrior, anger flashing in his eyes, confronted Ethan. "This is impossible. You are not strong. You are not like us. How did you do it?" Ethan smiled calmly. "I watched, I learned, and I acted carefully. That is all. Strength is not everything." The queen's eyes glimmered faintly. She had seen many beings across the galaxy, but humans were rare in her presence. This human, so ordinary in appearance, yet extraordinary in mind, had survived 2 grueling trials that tested strength, intelligence, and courage. Her interest in him deepened. After the trial, the contestants returned to the palace for rest. The human quietly observed the reactions of others. Many were frustrated, angry, or confused. They had underestimated him, assuming humans were weak. Now they were beginning to see that this human had qualities they lacked: patience, cleverness, and the ability to think differently. Some contestants approached him cautiously. One, a tall, multi-armed warrior, said, "Human, you are clever. I do not understand how you think." Ethan nodded politely. "I try to see what others miss. I pay attention. I stay calm." Others whispered among themselves. The palace halls buzzed with talk of the human who had survived the impossible. Even powerful aliens, proud and confident, began to wonder if they had underestimated humans too much. The queen watched silently from her throne. She had noticed Ethan's behavior, his calm demeanor, his clever thinking, and his compassion. These were rare qualities in her experience with galactic beings. She was fascinated. That evening, under the twin moons, Ethan walked through the glowing gardens of the palace. He reflected on the day's trials. They had been difficult, dangerous, and testing, but he had succeeded. The key was observation, patience, and clever thinking. Brute force would never have worked, but careful thought and courage had carried him through. As he rested by a glowing fountain, the queen appeared silently. She floated above the water, robes shimmering in moonlight. Ethan stood immediately. "You continue to surprise me," she said softly, eyes glimmering. "Most beings would have failed or panicked. You think, observe, adapt. That is rare. Even among my most skilled subjects, few possess such qualities." Ethan bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I tried to do my best." The queen's gaze lingered. She felt curiosity and admiration growing. She had expected spectacle, strength, and power from the contest. Instead, she had found something far more interesting: a human who combined courage, intelligence, patience, and kindness. "I look forward to the next trial," she said, her voice soft. "It will test not only your mind and body, but your heart as well." Ethan nodded, understanding that the hardest challenges were yet to come. The queen's interest, though subtle, made him realize something incredible. Humans, often underestimated across the galaxy, had a chance not just to survive, but to impress even the most powerful beings in existence. And for the first time, the other contestants began to truly understand that the human was no ordinary competitor. The palace was quiet that night, filled with soft hums of alien machinery and glowing fountains. Ethan prepared for the trials ahead, knowing that each test would be more dangerous and more difficult. But he also knew something important: thinking differently, Staying calm and showing courage and compassion could change not only his fate, but also the way the galaxy saw humans. Somewhere in the palace, the queen whispered to herself, her voice soft and filled with intrigue. This human, he is extraordinary, perhaps unlike any being I have ever encountered. The day of the final trial arrived with an intensity that could be felt across the palace. The twin suns of the alien world cast harsh, golden light over the crystal towers, turning the entire city into a glittering maze of brilliance. Contestants from across the galaxy gathered in the central hall. Their faces were tense, their confidence shaken. Many had already failed in the previous trials, and the rumors of the humans' victories had spread like wildfire. Even now, whispers ran through the hall. "A human? He has made it this far?" one alien said in disbelief. "How is it possible? Humans are weak." The queen floated down from her throne, her presence commanding silence instantly. Her shimmering robes trailed behind her as she moved, radiating an aura of authority and curiosity. She looked at the remaining contestants carefully, but her gaze lingered on the human, Ethan. "This is the final trial," she announced, her voice smooth but firm. "It will test not only your strength and intelligence, but your ability to inspire, to lead, and to act with wisdom under pressure. Only one of you shall claim my favor." The hall fell into tense silence. Many contestants flexed muscles, prepared to fight, while others adjusted technological devices or weapons. Ethan, as usual, observed quietly. He studied the arena, the traps, the layout, and even the competitors. The arena doors opened, revealing a vast open space filled with challenges of every kind. Towering walls, deep chasms, streams of molten light, and strange alien creatures filled the area. The landscape shifted constantly as if alive, creating new dangers with every step. The first challenge was a series of puzzles and obstacles that required both skill and thought. Contestants rushed forward, many trying to overpower barriers or force their way through puzzles. The human moved carefully, observing each obstacle and thinking through each step. He noticed patterns, symbols, and even small details the others overlooked. At one point, a competitor tried to sabotage him. A large alien warrior, seeing Ethan as a threat, hurled a heavy object in his path. Ethan dodged calmly, using the object to block a trap that would have otherwise endangered a smaller contestant. He then helped the smaller contestant safely across the obstacle. The queen's eyes followed him, a faint glimmer of surprise and admiration appearing for the first time. She had seen many beings try to manipulate, cheat, or intimidate in the contest, but this human had navigated both danger and deception with calm intelligence. Next came the arena's combat section. Fierce creatures emerged from hidden tunnels, attacking without warning. Many aliens engaged them head-on using brute force or energy weapons. Some were thrown aside, others panicked. Ethan did not charge. He observed the creatures' movements, noted their patterns, and used the environment. Fallen rocks became shields, streams of glowing energy became barriers, and shadows allowed him to move unseen. One creature lunged at him, and he rolled aside, causing it to crash into a trap, eliminating the threat without confrontation. By mid-arena, many competitors were exhausted or injured. Ethan remained alert. He helped a few who had been trapped or hurt, earning wary respect from other contestants. Some began whispering among themselves. "Perhaps humans are not as weak as we thought," one admitted quietly. The final challenge awaited at the arena's center, a massive platform surrounded by molten energy. On the platform sat a pedestal with a glowing crystal. To claim victory, a contestant had to reach the pedestal, bypassing traps, illusions, and creatures guarding the final approach. Many aliens tried to rush forward, relying on speed or power. Most failed spectacularly. Ethan studied the paths carefully, noting subtle changes in the arena's energy flow, timing his movements with precision. When a predator lunged, he used a reflective shard to mislead it. When the path appeared blocked, he used his environment cleverly, moving rocks and creating temporary bridges. Step by step, he approached the pedestal. He ignored distractions, attacks, and illusions. His focus never wavered. He reached the pedestal and placed his hand on the glowing crystal. Energy rippled outward, signaling the trial's completion. The arena fell silent. The queen descended gracefully to the center of the arena. She looked at Ethan closely, her luminous eyes examining him as no one had ever been examined before. "You have done what none others could," she said. Her voice carried awe and authority at the same time. "You have passed all trials not through strength alone, nor speed, nor cunning, but through intelligence, courage, wisdom, and compassion. You have proven yourself worthy." A stunned silence followed. Contestants stared at Ethan, mouths open in disbelief. Some tried to argue, saying humans could not possibly be worthy. Others, though angry or frustrated, began to understand the truth. The human had succeeded where almost all others had failed. The queen's attention shifted slightly, her eyes softening as she looked at Ethan. "I did not expect a human to impress me in this way," she admitted quietly. "Your actions show qualities that surpass even some of my most skilled subjects. Strength alone is meaningless without intelligence, courage, and heart." Ethan bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what seemed right and used what I knew. I did not think of victory first." The queen studied him for a long moment. She was used to beings who were ambitious, arrogant, or greedy for her favor. Ethan was different. Humble, clever, courageous, and kind, qualities rare in the galaxy, and especially rare among contestants for her favor. "I am impressed," she said finally, her voice softer than usual. "You have earned my favor. You shall be recognized as the winner of this contest." A murmur of astonishment spread through the crowd. Contestants exchanged shocked glances. A human? Winning the contest? Against the galaxy's strongest and most cunning beings? No one had expected this. The queen raised her hands and the hall quieted immediately. "Let it be known," she proclaimed, "that the human, Ethan, has won my contest. He has shown qualities that even my greatest subjects lack. His actions demonstrate intelligence, courage, adaptability, and kindness. This is the way I choose my companion." Whispers turned to stunned silence. Some competitors bowed, defeated. Others looked furious, unwilling to accept the human's victory. Yet none could deny the truth. Ethan had outperformed everyone. The queen floated closer to Ethan. "Step forward," she commanded. He obeyed, walking calmly toward her. She looked him over, her eyes full of curiosity and admiration. "You are unlike any being I have encountered," she said softly. "Most come seeking power or favor. You have sought only to act rightly, to think clearly, and to face challenges bravely. I respect that." Ethan felt a strange mixture of pride and humility. He had not expected admiration from a being so powerful and feared. Yet here she was, acknowledging him not only as a competitor, but as a worthy individual. "Your victory is complete," the queen continued, "and your reward is my companionship. Not as a prize, not as a token, but as someone whose qualities I value and wish to know more deeply." Gasps echoed through the hall. Contestants and spectators alike stared in disbelief. No one had expected the queen's reaction to be so personal, so sincere. Some murmured in envy, others in shock. Ethan simply bowed, maintaining his calm composure. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said quietly. "I am honored." The queen's lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "I am intrigued," she admitted. "We shall see what unfolds. But know this. Your actions have changed how I view your species. Humans are not as limited as many believe." The announcement sent waves through the galaxy. Stories of a human winning the contest of the most powerful alien queen spread quickly. Humans, long underestimated and seen as primitive, were suddenly recognized as beings of courage, intelligence, and unexpected skill. That evening, As the twin moons rose over the palace, Ethan walked through the gardens once more. He reflected on the trials, the dangers, and the moments where his cleverness and calm had guided him through. He realized that victory had not been about defeating others, but about understanding challenges, adapting, and acting wisely. The queen watched, from a distance, her eyes following him. She had expected spectacle, strength, and power. Instead, she found intelligence, courage, and a kind heart. She felt something unusual: curiosity, respect, and perhaps the first stirrings of admiration for a human. For the contestants, the victory was shocking. Many had underestimated the human, assuming their own power, skills, or alien abilities would guarantee success. Now they understood that humans, though physically weaker, could surpass expectations through thought, patience, and courage. The palace grew quiet under the moon's glow, the fountains shimmering softly. Ethan knew that the final trial had ended and the queen had acknowledged his worth. But he also sensed that his journey with her was only beginning. The galaxy's perception of humans was shifting, and this victory was just the start. Somewhere in the throne room, the queen whispered to herself, her voice soft and filled with intrigue. "This human, he is unlike any being I have ever known. Perhaps he is more than a competitor." The victory celebration in the alien palace was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Towers of crystal shimmered in colors that shifted with the music. Streams of glowing liquid ran through the halls, carrying lights that danced like living creatures. Alien beings from countless worlds moved gracefully, their laughter and conversation filling the space. And in the center of it all stood the queen, her robes floating like liquid starlight, her luminous eyes surveying the crowd. Ethan walked beside her, calm but aware of every detail. Despite the celebration, he felt no arrogance. He had won the contest, yes, but he had also earned something far more meaningful: respect. The queen approached him, her gaze steady and curious. "Come with me," she said softly, leading him away from the throng of spectators and contestants. They walked through winding corridors, past gardens that glowed with bioluminescent plants, until they reached a private terrace overlooking the alien city. The twin moons cast a soft silver glow, and the air carried the gentle hum of alien life. For a moment, neither spoke. They simply observed the beauty of the world around them. "You have proven yourself," the queen said finally, breaking the silence. Her voice was quieter here, almost human in its warmth. Not by strength or skill alone, but by courage, intelligence, and wisdom. "And yet, I sense there is more to you than I understand." Ethan nodded. "I only try to do what is right. I think before I act, and I try to help others when I can." The queen tilted her head slightly, studying him. "Most beings in the galaxy act out of fear, greed, or ambition. You act differently. You are rare." Ethan smiled faintly. "I have learned from my travels. I have seen many worlds, many species. I have learned that survival is not just about power. It is about understanding, adapting, and sometimes compassion." The queen's expression softened. "And that is why I chose you," she said. "Not only for the contest, but for qualities that are unexpected. You challenge what I thought I knew about humans, and about beings in general." Ethan bowed, slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am honored." They walked to the edge of the terrace, looking out over the city that sparkled beneath the twin moons. Ethan felt a mixture of awe and curiosity. This was a world unlike any he had visited, ruled by a being of incredible power and intelligence. Yet here he was, a human, considered weak by many, standing as the chosen companion of the queen herself. "You are calm in ways few are," the queen said, her voice soft. "Even under danger, under trials that would break the strongest beings, you remained steady. You observed, adapted, and acted wisely. This impresses me." Ethan met her gaze. "I did what I had to do. I did not think of winning first. I thought of understanding and surviving. I did not imagine this outcome." The queen's lips curved into a faint smile, and yet it happened. Your actions have not only won my favor, but they have changed the way I view your species. Humans are underestimated, but not by me now. Ethan felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for his people. Humans had long been considered weak, primitive, or unimportant in the galaxy, and yet here he was, recognized by one of the most powerful beings in existence. Your species has qualities that many overlook, he said. We adapt. We think differently. We survive by understanding, not only by force. The Queen studied him silently, her eyes reflecting the twin moons. Perhaps that is what I find most fascinating. Most beings seek only power. You seek understanding. And in that, you are unique. For a moment, silence fell between them. It was not uncomfortable, but filled with a shared recognition. They were different, from different worlds, yet here they were, speaking honestly and openly. I am curious, the Queen said softly, about your mind, your ways, your species, about how a human sees the galaxy and its challenges. I wish to learn more. Ethan nodded. And I wish to understand you, Your Majesty, your world, your people, your perspective. You have shown me that strength is not always the answer, and wisdom can come in unexpected forms. The Queen's eyes glimmered with something rare, genuine intrigue. She had faced rulers, warriors, and beings of incredible power, yet this human had captured her attention in ways she had not anticipated. Then, she said finally, let us begin not just as ruler and subject, but as companions, not because of the contest alone, but because of respect and curiosity, and perhaps in time something more. Ethan felt a mixture of honor and humility. I would be grateful for that, he said, and I will do my best to understand and respect your world. The Queen extended her hand. Ethan took it, feeling the faint warmth of her presence, the subtle power that radiated from her. It was a gesture of equality, of acknowledgement, and of beginning something new. The news of Ethan's victory and his union with the Queen spread quickly across the galaxy. Humans, long underestimated and dismissed, were suddenly recognized as beings capable of intelligence, courage, and diplomacy that could rival the most powerful species. Ambassadors, rulers, and explorers from other worlds took notice. Some were skeptical, some curious, but all knew that the contest had revealed something significant. Humans were no longer weak or insignificant. They were beings to be respected and watched closely. Back on the palace terrace, Ethan and the Queen continued to walk and speak. They discussed strategies, philosophies, and the challenges of ruling vast worlds. Ethan shared stories from Earth and his travels, and the Queen shared the wisdom and history of her people. You are patient, the Queen said at one point. Few beings can listen and learn as you do. Most act first and regret later. Ethan smiled. I have learned that patience often reveals what others miss, and understanding can prevent mistakes that force or speed cannot. The Queen nodded, clearly impressed. Perhaps that is why you succeeded where others failed. It is not only strength or skill that matters, but the mind and heart. As the moons rose higher in the sky, the two continued their conversation. A bond began to form, not just as ruler and subject or winner and prize, but as beings who respected and valued each other's qualities. Finally, the Queen spoke in a tone that was softer than any public address. Ethan, you have surprised me in ways I did not expect. Your species, your mind, your heart, all are extraordinary. I look forward to what we can learn from each other, and perhaps, in time, how we might guide our worlds together. Ethan bowed, feeling the weight and honor of her words. I will do my best, Your Majesty, not for glory, but for understanding and for the future we might share. For the first time, the Queen allowed herself a small smile. You are extraordinary, human, and you have proven that even the smallest, most underestimated beings can rise to greatness when they act with courage, intelligence, and integrity. Kirby. Palace around them sparkled under the moons, alive with celebration and wonder. Ethan knew that his journey was far from over. There would be challenges, questions, and responsibilities ahead. But for the first time, he felt truly recognized, not as a human among aliens, but as an individual, valued for who he was. And the Queen, once feared and distant, found herself intrigued, curious, and even moved by the human who had won her contest. Together, they would explore not only the trials of the galaxy, but the possibilities of understanding, respect, and perhaps even friendship, or more, between their worlds. By the end of the night, the palace was quiet. The celebrations had ended, but a new chapter had begun, for Ethan, for the Queen, and for humanity. The galaxy had seen what humans could do, and the perception of their species had shifted forever. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were recognized, respected, and in some ways admired. And it all began with one human, brave, clever, and compassionate, who dared to step into a contest thought impossible to win, and won not only the trials, but the heart and respect of the most powerful being in the galaxy. Ethan looked at the Queen one last time under the twin moons. She smiled, a rare, genuine expression, and in that moment he understood that their story, like humanity's place in the galaxy, was only just beginning. The stars above seemed to shine brighter that night, as if celebrating the unexpected rise of a human who had proven the galaxy wrong.